second time teaching with us. Please help me welcome Professor Drusy Belman and Art That Wows.
Thank you. My name has one L.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, great. And all the lights.
Oh, that's just, that's the AI.
Oh, okay. And can we turn all the lights off, Scott?
Okay.
You have to set this. Hello, everyone. I just want to get the scene all set. We can start our time together. There you go. I came in a few weeks ago just to make sure that we could have a really dark room for the Art of Wow, because there'll be a lot of video and a lot of colors. And anyway, it's wonderful to be back here again. Welcome to everyone here and in their homes in Zoom. The way I will operate the class is I'll talk until, for the most part, we'll have a 2 o'clock break for 10 minutes. And I'll stop every so often for questions. So if you hold your questions until I break, it will be helpful for my concentration. And I think that's it. Let me, I'm going to need a tiny bit of light here. Is there a light I can have on this? Okay.
Oh, you're so demanding.
So many things. It'll definitely smooth out by the end of this class. This is going to be like the pancake.
That good?
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys. This is very accommodating. So the Art of Wow, that is a term I completely made up because over the last few years, I've gone to some exhibitions around the country, around the world, and there are moments where my breath is taken away, where I think, this is incredible. This is, and then I was concerned at the time. Over time, I was thinking, maybe it's a bad thing to be wowed by art, because I'm trained in art history and I know every Goya and Rembrandt and Picasso by where it was made and what the date is and what period it is and movement and all of that. I was trained in this kind of memory of art, of the artist as the center of what you're looking at. So that you're looking at a Picasso, you're thinking, wow, it's a Picasso. He's the one who turned art on its head in the early 20th century. The Art of Wow, these installations or works of art that you are encompassed by and includes you and needs you to complete the work because you're the viewer. The emphasis on what used to be on the artist as the brushstroke, the mood of the painting, like a Rembrandt self-portrait, is completely different. Now, it's not on the artist at all. It's on the experience created by the artist for the public. So by being in the audience, by being a viewer, you are finishing the creation of the work. The work is complete just by your reaction. So I love that it's exciting. I love that it's new and ever evolving. We're going to go over some really incredible artists in the next 8 weeks. The one main characteristic is to stop you in your tracks, be fully absorbing, and just by showing up for the experience, you are part of the artwork. A few things that are characteristics of what is called immersive art. I wasn't calling it immersive art so often because of Van Gogh and Monet and those immersive art experiences, which aren't at all the same as what I'm going to be showing you. I went to the Van Gogh and I thought, wow, that's a lot of beautiful Van Gogh. And I love Edith Piaf in the background, but this isn't an original thing. It isn't a sort of frontier thought, and it doesn't matter whether you're here or not. So it's kind of like going to an incredible movie or show in an afternoon on a hot day. It's not at all the same as what we'll be working on together. So one of the main things about this art that wows is that it it moves art out of the museum and the gallery. And we'll go over why. First of all, the scale of the work becomes too large to even be housed in a museum or gallery. And that is also part of the wow. And also the material used for this work is everything from dirt to light to technology and anything you can think of. There's so many incredible new ways that artists are working with materials that there really are no boundaries. And I just want to say this doesn't take away from the Rembrandts and the Picassos in any way. I'm still a regular museum goer, and I still find, a wow moment for me was seeing the Guernica in the Prado. And I just stood there like, this is history. This isn't that. It's different. It's not better. It's just another category. Another thing about this immersive art is that it often brings in another element. It's art plus nature, art plus social justice, art plus technology, and a lot of other things added. So it's kind of a cocktail more so than the pure, a pure glass of something that you would not mix. And then another characteristic is collaboration. Either the artist, him or herself, is working in a group, well, let me just say, working on his or her own thing, but collaborating kind of in a movement with others, like land art, which we'll go over today. There's a community for all of these artists. And as we go along and as immersive art progresses to present day, it's changed a lot, especially with technology. There are artists, they work in consortiums of up to 400 people working together with different talents, bringing different skills to teams working on different forms of artwork. And we'll go, there's a specific art group called Team Lab. They were at the Asian Art Museum for quite a while last year, and they work in teams, and they are a huge consortium of differently talented people. And it's pretty fascinating, and it's very complicated, but there's no one artist you would credit with their work. And the last thing I would say is that these works glorify the familiar, whether it's emphasizing how essential nature is in our world. We often do forget that, or people around us, or landmarks. We'll talk about Christo and Jean-Claude, who wrapped different icons around the world in order to kind of highlight and bring them to light. And they all, by glorifying the familiar, allow us to see each of these things in a new way. So I'm going to just read to you. I know somebody, this wonderful, I read this in The Atlantic a couple of years ago, and I thought it was completely, as I look over my ever-growing list, I see that it's chock full of certain kinds of art, site-specific art, participatory art, relational art, land art, and art that is hard to get to or hard to get into. Art that I've been told I absolutely positively must experience in person before I die. Art that I can see only alone or in a small group. Art that will bring out in me an exquisite existential alertness. Art that I will complete by simply being present. Art that without me is nothing. Much of the art on my list is designed to involve the observer in ways that no mere gallery going ever could, and indeed makes the blockbuster exhibitions of the 20th century, Picasso, King Tut, the treasure houses of Britain, seem quaint. I remember King Tut in New York and the lines. Yes, the long lines are still part of the experience, but new elements have been added. Cameras are often allowed, which opens the door to Instagram, Snapchat, and other social media. The visitor's encounter is, in many cases, time limited. Most importantly, many of the works on my bucket list invite the spectator to engage more personally with the art. That basically captured for me what it is to be in an immersion experience with art. Another thing that makes, in many cases, it's a finite amount of time. So for instance, if you're going to go see Kusama's work, she does these infinity mirror rooms, among other many things. You get 45 seconds in a room alone with her work. And there's something about time constraints with the work that also adds a sort of electricity to it. Of imagine being alone when people are waiting for 2 hours behind the door. So we will go and I will show you. Okay, so good. I'm just going to go over a few of the artists we'll be talking about. So right here, that is Yayoi Kusama, and that is an infinity mirror room. And when you walk in, the room is very small, but the lights and the mirrors all around creates this incredible an infinity of dots, an infinity of light. And the fact is that you don't really notice. You notice it being encompassed in all of this light and these mirrors, and there's water on the floor in many of the, you're on kind of a dock, and there's water around you, and it's a tiny space, but all of a sudden it's like, boom, and you're in a galaxy, and it's kind of it's quite amazing. Here, this is Anish Kapoor, Sky Mirror, which was in Rockefeller Center. You can see 30 Rock right there. And it, in the middle of New York City, and maybe the most dense area, reflected the sky and the world around us. And we'll talk about Anish Kapoor, extremely interesting character and very brilliant. Really believed in the metaphysical, and we'll talk about how that worked with his art. Here, this is Team Lab. And they have many, many different kinds, as I said, teams working on different installations. And this here is pretty great. There aren't as many people here as there were when I visited, when it was kind of chock-a-block. But it's just all lights, and you're being in the gallery, in the space with those lights, changes them. You create the lines and the movement of the light as you walk. Over here, this is James Turrell. James Turrell, I don't know, there's a piece of his at the De Young Museum, and I am just so enthralled with him and fascinated. But he bought a volcano in Arizona, an actual volcano. He calls it, it's a crater. And within it it's a mile, in length, this crater. And he has all these different pathways that lead to the center of it and to different areas. And each pathway reflects something about light, something where he combines artificial light with natural light. And he doesn't use, for the most part, technology. He really uses light in the sky. And we're going to go into him because by the end of that talk, you will get on an airplane, I swear to you. And this isn't all the artists we're talking about, but this is JR, his work. And he was at SF MoMA. He did a mural after the Pan American Unity Diego Rivera mural, and he did it of San Franciscans. And I don't know if you saw it, but it was a moving mural of people in our world here in the Bay Area. He does a lot of social justice. This is the border of Mexico. And he did this image of this giant baby overlooking the American side. And so those are some of the cast of characters we'll be going over in the class. Any questions before I start with our first category? The baby? Yeah. That's JR. He's a photographer. Yeah. He's quite extraordinary. They all are. I mean, I have sort of I have so much enthusiasm for these artists we're going to go. I'll try to tone it down. I don't want to make you scared or freaked out. Okay, so the next slide, we're going to go over land art, because as nothing is ever so simple as to be traced to one genesis. It is land art, as I can see, and in the tremendous amount of sort of reading and looking I've done about where does this wow art come from, and why is it okay with us, and who is it not okay with? Land art is sort of the beginning of that. So the land art is also referred to as earth art. It was from the 60s and 70s, largely an American movement. And it uses the natural landscapes to create site-specific work. So these artists would go out and find, spaces, or they would go over in a little airplane and find the place that they think, and often it had to do with the least amount of light pollution, or the most amount of space. So there'd be nothing in peripheral vision, no buildings, nothing. And in the 1960s and 70s, there was a tremendous amount of land in the Southwest that was not, nobody cared about, and they could buy it for nothing. And so they did. And so one thing, I'll just say that in the 1940s and 50s with abstract expressionism, and we're not going to get too technical in this class because I don't want to bore you. It's not like you really need to know that, but there was an absolute explosion. And we talked about this actually in the last class I taught here, Bay Area Figurative Movement. New York became the center of the art movement, taking away the focus of Paris, and it became this great American movement. All of this angst and the anxiety that came from the war, and sort of laid it out there with artists like Jackson Pollock and Willem de Kooning, who made these physical, slashing, powerful works. A lot of artists felt that those works were too commercial. There was a lot of money being exchanged, and there's a lot of competition for Leo Castelli, the gallerist, to see you and make your life as an artist. It had been not really become, it's like the land had been forgotten. It was completely focused in New York City. So some of these artists who were really minimalists and definitely conceptual artists, they went out to the Southwest. Actually, one of them was looking in New Jersey, and he ended up in the Southwest too. It was somewhat of a political rebellion against the increasingly commercial art world. They felt that America was a runaway train of development, and they were losing their soul. And coming off of World War II, we were strong and confident as a country, and a lot of the commerce and just the focus on money was strong. And so these guys, they wanted to highlight the power and the beauty of the land. And it's often said that nature became their canvas. And then they also were reaching back into the past. So they would refer to Stonehenge in England and the pyramids of Egypt as being this strong, this powerful part of nature that those are essentially sculptures, but they need the land to really highlight. It would be nothing without the land. So the strength and connection to the earth. So we're going to start with Robert Smithson. He was born in New Jersey. He died in a small plane crash when he was, I think, about 35 years old. So we only had him for a little bit of time, and he was a great genius. And when you read about him, it really, that's one thing people always say is what an amazing writer he was, and how most of the time they didn't understand his ideas because it was too high level. Anyway, he went to New York and studied at the Art Students League in 1950s. And he identified with the minimalists at the time, like Saul LeWitt and Carl Andre. And don't worry if you don't know their work, it doesn't mean anything. They did a lot of white boxes. He married an artist named Nancy Holt, who became also very famous for these sun tunnels she built out west. But while he was alive, he sort of overpowered everyone in terms of star power, of being able to make these great things happen. So I'll just, on the first thing he started to do, he did two types of things. There were inside art and outside art. And this was, he took some mirrors and he put them in the land. And he did this everywhere, from the Yucatan to England, all over the Southwest. He traveled and he put these mirrors down. And for them, that is a sculpture for Smithson. And what it does is the earth is reflected in the mirror at certain angles. So it also reflects the sky and the sun and the moon and everything else. It picks up light, and it's almost like each section became its own canvas, its own work of art, depending on the day and the time and the light. And these are called mirror displacements. And then on the right side, this is a mirror displacement from a Cayuga salt mine, which is up, it was a big show at Cornell University, and he put the mirrors up, went to a salt mine, and poured all of the salt within the structure of the mirrors. So in the first case, he is bringing the sculpture out to the earth. And in the second case, he's bringing the earth to the sculpture. And that was something that he did a lot. He played a lot with whether the work can be in a gallery and still reflect the earth around us, or be outside and be more of pictorial image, an image that could shift and change with the light. So that's really where Smithson started. Now I'll show you where he goes. Okay, wait, we're going to watch a video called Troublemakers. It's just about 2.5 minutes, and it goes over all of the three top artists who are land artists and earth artists. It's kind of an amazing thing. It took this man a very long time to make this video and get all the permissions, but I will say it will go over Robert Smithson, Walter de Maria, and Michael Heiser. Now, Michael Heiser is perhaps the most, they feel he made sort of the greatest dent in this movement, but his work is completely inscrutable. And when I see it, I don't say, wow. So we're not learning about him. So I'll start the video just so you know, I'm not showing you, I am not showing you Michael Heiser for a reason. Hang on, let me just press play. Scott, how do I press play for this video?
Walk over to the computer and press play.
Okay. That's simple. It's on Zoom though.
Computer.
Oh,
The one over there.
Oh, this one? Okay, I'm so sorry.
yeah, the built-in one. Yeah.
The actual one that isn't Zoom. Okay.
land art or earth art. From what the artists would tell me, they were looking for a larger canvas to work on.
And we really thought that the work we were doing was going to end galleries.
They were kind of troublemakers, confusing the marketing. In fact, they didn't have any market, not only because they were difficult, but also because people were not able to grasp them.
The person I was most interested in was Smithson, mainly because Smithson wrote, and wrote better than most curators wrote.
He seemed to be connected with the dark forces. His work, his view, his writings have this apocalyptic nature almost. My relationship with Michael Heiser was always rather difficult. I think he was quite competitive, and Michael Heiser could be extremely, you might say, temperamental. They were rivals. They both were into earthwork, so there was a bit of tension between them.
Walter de Maria, he was very secret. He doesn't want to tell you what is the meaning of the work. Like Michael, they want you to experience the work. They want to enter in the work. The idea of land art is related to the idea of the globe, especially after the first picture of the Earth give you the idea that Earth is an object. And you can design on it, you can draw. It's all this kind of convergence of information, technology, information, and history that makes land art. I love when Walter was saying, you know, my new brush is a caterpillar, or that the earthquakes are the best way of shaping a sculpture, which is the earth.
Uh-oh, hang on. Okay, so this is Robert Smithson's most well-known work, as it should be, called Spiral Jetty from 1970. It's an incredible feat of engineering is really what it is. It's 2-hour drive from Salt Lake City. It's a 1,500-foot vortex coil constructed with more than 6,600 tons of basalt rock spinning out into Utah's Great Salt Lakes. Smithson and 2 assistants, that's 3 of them, moved 7 tons of earth, basalts, and boulders into a shape spiraling out into the Great Lakes of Utah. It was submerged. So after it was built, so he's out there, you could see him at the end of that video running on it. He's just like running past it. It's he was, can you hear me? Yeah. He was kind of a madman in that way. And in the trailer for the film, it says that he was so obsessed. And there, I'll probably say this a lot in the class, to make something like this, a man-made structure of this size and enormity, must take a heck of a person, right? Like the courage and the determination, and to think there's 3 of them that moved all of this this salt and rocks and everything into the water. There was nothing there before. And so I also just want to point out that over here is the Great Serpent Mound, which is in Ohio. It is a it's been there, I think, 3,200 years old by, there's a whole article in the Metropolitan Museum of Art's sort of magazine, and it talked all about how they have spent a lot of time scanning the earth around Great Serpent Mound. It's an effigy mound where they would make sacrifices and pray. And so there it is. And Robert Smithson was extremely intellectual and extremely well studied. And when he saw this, it ruminated for him. He kept it in his mind for a lot of years, and what came out of it was Spiral Jetty. And so it's a very amazing piece of and it's so far away. I mean, think it's a 2-hour drive from Salt Lake City. I mean, if you want to go and see Spiral Jetty, and people make pilgrimages there all the time. There are tons of blogs on the internet about people's visit to Spiral Jetty. So after it was completed, after 6 months after it was completed, it was submerged in water for 30 years. And that's what it looks like submerged. I think it was even more so, but it's not like someone could really spend much time out there. It became something you wouldn't be able to see from the shore. This is an aerial view. What Smithson meant by this piece was the enduring, unpredictable power of nature. He really wanted to bring nature back in focus in our world. There was a lot going on with Vietnam, a lot of protesting Vietnam, the women's movement, civil rights, and these artists felt that the focus was really they were disillusioned with our government, and they wanted to do something powerful that had to do with the earth. And it is the absolute antithesis of what might be sold at a gallery. It's not something that could be sold or bought or sold. It's literally just a spectacle. And people were so fascinated by it. And the art world of New York, where it was the center of the art world, they didn't want to go out there and see it, but there was all this attention, and they just felt that that these artists had gone out of the way and refocused a lot of people on that thought, that moment about the earth at the time. So the other thing is there is always outdoor sculpture, like large sculptures in sculpture parks and outside of office parks. But that was always bolted to the floor. There was nothing free about it. There was nothing unencumbered and almost wild about it. And it is that wild quality that makes people feel awe at seeing something like this that was the vision of an artist. And what's also very amusing is once it was submerged, he was thrilled. His basically was like, well, this is what it is to count on the earth and nature to do what it does. I'm not trying to control it. So yeah. One more image. This is when it was completely submerged. People still tried to walk on it. A work of art, when placed in a gallery, loses its charge and becomes a portable object or surface disengaged from the outside world. So he is trying to say, let's not just have it in museums and galleries. That's fine. He was doing gallery work as well. But let's also use the power of the earth to make something extraordinary and make a point that that you can do something as an artist. You can see out your vision, and you need people to come and see it and experience it, walk through it, feel it, examine their relationship with nature through his work. So So Spiral Jetty was submerged from 1972 to 2002. And it continues today to be a place where, and maybe always will, where people pilgrimage to see the work. So this is Walter de Maria. I have a very soft spot for Walter de Maria. He is just incredible. He was born in the Bay Area in Albany, California. His parents owned a well-known local restaurant. He got his MA and his BFA from Berkeley, 1957. And music was a large part of his life. And in fact, he played in lots of different jazz bands around the Bay Area. And in fact, going back to last year's class, he played in David Park and the California School of Fine Arts band very often. And he was sort of part of that group and part of the Beat generation. And he was sort of open to lots of ideas. In fact, he was the drummer for the original Velvet Underground before Andy Warhol took it over. So music was always part of his creating art. And so he moved to New York in 1960, and he also got involved in a minimalist movement, and you'll see that in his work. And it's funny how these things kind of combine, because then later we'll talk about Yayoi Kusama, and she was also there at the time, and they were friends with the same people, but I've never heard of them being close. He was close with Joseph Cornell and learned a lot. And then Kusama was also close with Cornell. It's just funny to see all of these artists in the basically the 60s connecting in different points and doing extremely different work. So maybe the most famous work that Walter de Maria did was the lightning fields in 1977. And he says, and this is true for all of his work, every good work must have at least 10 meanings. And what's interesting is that, you know, he was right along there with Smithson. They knew each other. The land artists were pretty supportive of each other, even though it talked about them being competitive. I'm sure they were, but it was always sort of discussed which land artist was the most groundbreaking. Once you create a piece of that size with so much engineering involved, I mean, it broke all molds. And the concept is so huge, you know, it's one thing to have a concept of painting a painting, but it's another thing to create these conceptual works, which were a big question mark for most people. A lot of this just existed in these artists' heads. And until they were fully built, these guys were kind of like shaman, shamanistic obsession with the earth and with the land, and bringing us back there and having us reevaluate our relationships with it. So this is the Quemando Desert Plain near New Mexico. De Maria put up 400 lightning rods in a field, and each was about 20 feet high with a pointed tip. There was nothing for many, many miles. You could see 40 miles in front of you. There was literally nothing, because he didn't want light pollution and he didn't want anything to distract from the lightning experience. It wasn't really lightning experience because it wasn't always lightning. It often was just, he wanted people to walk through it and experience the grid. He was both Smithson and de Maria, but specifically de Maria, were very obsessed about math and geometry. And it comes up all the time. And I was reading about him and I just Googled, what is his obsession with math? Where did that come from? And then there were like 92 billion articles about de Maria and math. And I was like, I'm going back. I don't want to know. Anyway, each rod, so 400 lightning rods, 1 mile by 1 kilometer grid, each rod 2 inches in diameter, extend different heights from 15 to 26 feet, 9 inches. Think how exacting that is. Some were 15 feet, some were 26 feet, 9 inches, and everything in between, because he's creating a perfectly horizontal frame, and the ground isn't even. So his feeling was, it was selected because this area of the world is very well known for lightning storms and the lack of light pollution. It was isolated from human development, and the lightning lights up the whole landscape, like the full 40-mile view you would have by being out there. I doubt you can see 40 miles now, but probably pretty close. This is in 1977. So the land is more than just the site. It's a critical part of the work. So it's just a super large sculpture. And so people would come, they'd have a special area where they would stand behind and not be allowed closer during the times when there would be clouds. And if you saw a cloud in the sky, people working there would say, get behind the line, because it would be very, very easy in that circumstance to be hit by lightning. It would be almost nothing. So, so the idea of lightning in this work adds suspense. You know, will I, when I be out there, will there be lightning? Will there be danger? And it feels as if when there's lightning, you're completing the vision that De Maria wants you to see. And as you can see in the image on the left, on the right, it's pretty crazy, right? This was a sanctioned photograph. You absolutely are not allowed to take photos at the lightning field. Not for all of these years, it's not been allowed. Where some of the artists will talk about are excited about taking, doing Instagram and Snapchat and all of that. At this moment in time, at the very inception of these exceptional works, you really had to leave all that behind. It was really very much about the experience of it and being there. Thank you. And the experience of being in it, you know, and that was just for you. It was site specific and you had to go. And part of the artist's wish is that you would travel a really long, inconvenient, bumpy ride, as long a wait to get your connecting flight, make it really inconvenient, really work to come and see this completely new concept in art. And I find it, you know, kind of amazing that they would see this conceptually, set something up so conceptual and so minimal that people would actually come. You know, like in the movie Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. I'm not sure I would have thought anyone would come. Would you? I don't know. I might still not come. It might be just a little too far for me.
Friend of mine went this summer and apparently there's a little cabin you stay in and there's no electricity or anything. And I was like, where? What are you going to see? So
And
thank you for explaining it.
Yeah. Well, every February they get 1,000 emails on the exact date you're allowed to call for reservations. 1,000 emails in order to be considered to stay. And the cabin it's so interesting. The cabin, it's 6 people stay overnight. And when the reservations, the Dia Art Foundation is the one who funds all of Walter de Maria's work. They're allowed to stay only one night. It's a 3-hour drive from Albuquerque Airport. And it's most popular in July and August when there's more lightning and people really want to see it with the lightning. But De Maria really felt that all year round, you know, it's a matter of really being with the sky, with the, you know, there's nothing like that New Mexico sky, you know, of it being almost a pastoral image of its own, right? It's like maybe something from the Hudson Valley painters where they really got in there with the clouds and the green and the amazing colors that actually happen in nature that look exaggerated but aren't. So they pay $150 for this cabin, $150 each for the cabin. And it's completely tricked out. There isn't any electricity, but it comes with a casserole already made and all the food and everything stocked. And, you know, firewood and everything is completely ready for you. I guess it's like going to Burning Man and renting a trailer, so you can go in style and not have to worry about the awful Nevada conditions. So it's interesting that it seems sort of the antithesis of the experience, but in July and August it's $250 per person, and it's, as he would say, it's isolation is the essence of land art, and it is absolutely true. He wants you immersed, really entrenched in the experience, no distractions, there's no cell phone, there's no electricity. You are in this experience for the 24 hours. And at 2 p.m., you are shown the door with no photographs. And I think it's almost, people have described it as almost a mystical experience with going and staying. And, I've spent my whole life looking and thinking about art in every form possible. And I can imagine if you weren't invested in thinking art is pretty terrific, that you'd think people were nuts, right? Like what are they doing going out there? So that is Walter de Maria's best known work and definitely the most wild. Can I answer any questions? Okay.
I can't tell, looking at either one of those pictures, whether the substance on the bottom is actually brush or are they full-grown trees?
Oh, the question is in the image at the bottom, is it, are these trees like it's high up, or is it brush? And it is actually brush. It's completely flat land as far as the eye can see.
I was actually there 10 years ago.
Oh, tell us.
It's on a mesa.
On a mesa, right? Several mesas, I think.
It's on a mile above sea level. At that time, you could take pictures.
Pictures.
I took a lot of pictures.
I'd like to see them. Can you bring them in?
Yeah, I can bring them in.
We love it.
There was no lightning the day that we were.
Were you disappointed?
Yes.
And what made you go?
Oh, it's a group of us, book group. We decided to go.
Had you read about Walter de Maria?
One of the people in the group knew about this, and so he talked us into it.
Did you regret going?
Oh, it's wonderful.
It is wonderful.
I recommend
That's fun.
anybody to go there. It's spectacular.
It is spectacular. Okay. You have a question?
With back to Smithson, when you showed the mirrored ones,
Yes.
and you said he put mirrors in many different places, did he have permission to do this?
Oh, permission is a big deal with these guys. There is something almost like, and you'll hear this a lot about these artists, there's almost like something a little bit like outlaws. They're a little bit only, 75% legally there. But at this time, the land was just so open and available that I think that people were, it was one funny story. It talked about de Maria going and asking a rancher about the land, and he's like, well, there's a lot of it, drive around and figure out what you want and you can have it, basically like, yeah, all I have is land, I don't have anything else, you can't grow crops on this. And really interesting.
And Spiral Jetty, what about permission to do the rocks and salt and that?
I did not read anything about needing permission. I do know there was a tremendous amount of opposition. They thought he was absolutely nuts. And what was interesting about Robert Smithson is he absolutely did not care. He was a man on a mission. He had a vision and he had a lot of support. There was one gallerist, oh gosh, I forget her name. She was an heir to the 3M Corporation, and she just had unlimited funds, and she funded a lot of these. She funded all of Walter de Maria's work, and definitely Smithson's Spiral Jetty. She was very much part of it. Hi.
How long did Spiral Jetty take to build?
I believe 6 days.
Oh, it's all.
Isn't that incredible? 3 guys, 6 days.
By hand?
Yeah, you can see them. They have bulldozers and that kind of thing that they brought in. I mean, can you imagine the sheer audacity of that? He also chose it because there's something about the algae. The area is blocked off. It doesn't flow into a larger body of water. So the algae multiplies and the spiral jetty turns red at certain times of year. And that's one of the reasons that that Smithson chose it. He just loved that underneath that water, there was all of this life happening and things were turning color and algae was growing. And he knew all about the measurement of the microscopic this and that. And, these guys were really scientists and mathematicians. You couldn't do it without that. It all has to do with weight and measurement. And in terms of scale, they just blew up the whole idea that a sculpture had to be a certain size. It just blew up the idea that it changed the mold and it opened up. The other artists we'll be talking about in the class also just, it sort of gave them the freedom to create these immense pieces as well. And part of the awe that I talk about in some works that you approach and you're part of it is the size. I think the size of something is something so large, especially spiral jetty. I don't know why. Scott, why can't I go back?
Oh, sometimes the remote kind of goes to sleep.
Oh, okay.
So you might want to walk over to the computer to wake it up.
Okay, I shall do that.
And while I have you, I have a question from Jill Weinstein.
Okay,
She
Jill.
wants to know where the funding came from to do such giant projects like this.
Well, one of the major funders was a woman whose name was Dewey. I've read her name 7,000 times. What is her name? Duan. Who said that? Oh, what is her first name? Pam? No, Jen? Ruth? Virginia.
Virginia Swan Gallery of New York.
Yes.
$9,000.
Yes, it was very little. I mean, for us, $9,000 isn't a big deal, but that's how much this. It's not like the land, the salt costs very much, and the construction and all of that. So she did fund it, and also De Maria's work, which then was taken over. The funding was taken over by the Dia Art Foundation. Is anyone familiar with Dia? Oh, okay, so
I
Dia.
am.
Oh, you are? Okay. I was, in New York, it's also in Beacon, New York. There's a Dia museum if you've ever been. It's all quite amazing and spectacular, but Dia has funded the land art, the earthworks since the 60s. Go ahead right there.
Yeah, how did the spiral jetty become submerged? I thought the Salt Lake was evaporating.
There was a drought, and with a drought it would make it be. No, it was a drought that caused it to be submerged. That sounds odd. Let me know, it would be the opposite. Let me get back to you on that. I'm not understanding it. I'm forgetting what.
When he built it.
Yes, drought when he built it, and then
And then
6 months later, the drought ended and it happened. Okay, thank you for straightening that out. Brilliant. Go ahead, in the back.
Did Di Maria say what are his 10 meanings for that work?
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, he talked about 10 meanings, in talking about his work all the time. He had many more than 10 meanings, but, see if I can go back to, for him, there's a whole minimal concept that goes on there of like using the least amount of materials to create this sculpture. And the idea that in looking at it, it's doesn't feel like a sculpture at all. It's that minimal, right? But he considers this a sculpture. And also an installation, or, you know, there are a lot of names, but the idea that he would think it was a sculpture says a lot, because it changes the nature of how we think of sculpture. And that the other thing, another meaning, well, is obviously about being closer to the earth, and also to feel the power of it and the inevitability of it, in that we can't control any of it, right?
Speaking of inevitability, did Smithson know that his work was going to be submerged?
He knew it was a possibility for sure, and he was very happy when it happened, because it proved his point that we built it, and nature decided what to do with it, right? And when it decides to bring it back, that'll be great too.
It's not invisible.
It's not invisible, right? But they would not be able to have people walk on it comfortably for a lot of those years. I think people did walk on it, you can see there, but it's not much of anything that way. Looks like some rocks in the water. It's not this complete sort of shamanistic spiral that harkens back to this, you know, 3,200 years earlier, involves all sorts of concepts of the sacrificial and the, and he would say that he would sacrifice anything in the name of art. And he did a lot of writing that most people said, I don't understand what he's talking about, but he's really, really smart guy. And that was always said about him constantly. And yeah, anyone, any more? Go ahead.
This is probably what you were just saying, but the labyrinth here, you know, we still go to different places to walk the labyrinth. It's such a sacred thing.
Where do you go to walk a labyrinth?
Cathedral.
Oh, there is.
I saw the same thing she said, yeah.
Oh, interesting. So that's a meditation.
Yeah, it's a kind of meditation, and there's a way that people use it in Zen meditation. Like you walk the labyrinth, you meditate, and then you leave something. You leave something behind, something that's a burden to you, or something gift that you want to give to the world, and then you walk out.
If you didn't hear that, this is very interesting. So the walking meditation of this in San Francisco at Grace Cathedral, but actually up where I live, up north, there's also a walking, actually I think it's circular, circles inside it, and people walk it all the time, especially at sunrise. And I hear that is that it's a meditation, and it's supposed to sort of center you, right? And what else did you say? I didn't want anyone to miss it.
I said in the traditional labyrinth, which has 4 quarters,
right?
Like you're suggesting, when you get to the center, you leave something behind,
right?
Either a real object or some part of yourself that you want to let go of, or you bring a gift. And it's kind of like a ritual thing.
So when you're done meditating and walking the labyrinth, you leave something either of yourself, or you bring a gift, or that's about it. That's fascinating. What have you left? Am I allowed to ask?
Well, you could, if you're a person who has a lot of despair or self-doubt, and you want to let go of it, you walk this ritual with that idea that you're going to leave it, or you can leave.
You can just leave an idea there. I kind of love that. It's like with my when I do yoga, they say set an intention, and I'm like, oh no, now I have homework. I have to think quickly before it starts. I have to set an intention. Oh, I have 20 of them in my head. Yeah, it's they have yoga
at the labyrinth.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, with candlelight. Sometimes it's candlelight.
That's
They have
lovely.
a regular yoga thing there.
Okay, yoga at the cathedral. Phenomenal. Everybody should meet there.
Notion that.
Yes.
Unless there's a minotaur in there.
That's the question.
Scott, are there questions at home?
Nope, just that one.
Okay, I think we should take our break now. Come back at 10 past.
Get rid of all your problems. Perfect. It's gonna look better.
Put them on a thumb drive.
Oh, really? Yeah. From your phone.
Yeah, I like 100.
I mean, you just watch it. It was just funny, Joe, when you do it. Send them to me.
Let's bring it. Bring them to my next
Great.
class.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Plug you in. It's so much fun.
All right. The way you should go to.
Very, very excited.
Yes.
I have a friend from college and every year we try to meet. Never got anything with our stuff right. She wants to go to Marvin, Texas. Oh, she went to it?
Yeah. Our place.
Sharing. Registered as on kind of.
Got the cube.
Oh, Solowit. Donald Judd.
John, no.
I get it. How are you?
That's where he was.
So that's where his work is. You're gonna travel all that way to Donald Judd?
You should see it. It's not
Really?
just- it gets full.
Yeah. This morning.
I just got so
Last second.
I will have to really try.
I know, I'm pretty sure. That's probably very.
So, this is great.
Abstract.
40 years ago.
Oh God, now I got it to do I can't get this.
Oh, yeah, when they're doing. The doorbell. Yeah, she has. Would you like a brownie? I just watched it about it. These actually kind of fun. Quite a movie.
Ready to go? I'll get the light for you.
I met Warhol. I actually ran into Warhol. Window shopping, and I go, are you actually for? You look exactly like. Camel and tomato.
Hi, everyone. Oh, hang on. This might help. Cuckoo. Hello, everyone. We're back. Hello to my Zoomers. Nice to see you. Okay, so we're talking about Walter de Maria. I don't know. I think I was raised in New York City, and you know, I worked at the Metropolitan Museum a little bit. I was in and around. I did a lot of stuff art-wise in New York. But one of the things I loved more than anything, I found this, and maybe it makes me nuts, was the New York Earth Room. I don't know. Anybody here know the New York Earth Room?
Why would I want it?
Okay, my friend Vicky yes knows it. Okay, there we did. He did the lightning field.
Yeah.
But this is really,
See
Oh my
that?
God.
yes, okay. So I remember walking in, it's a third floor walk up in the middle of Soho, a nondescript building, like literally, it's 141 Worcester Street. It's like you just are, you would not know it. There's no sign. And you press the little buzzer like you're going to visit someone in their apartment in Soho. And you walk into this. And what it is it's, they transformed a Soho loft, about 4,000 square foot loft, and filled it with dirt. That's Walter de Maria, right? And it's an amazing thing. You're in the thick of New York City, you know, Soho, with the tiny streets and the honking cars, and you walk in and there's just this humidity that the humidity of there being dirt, and that it's live microorganisms, and you can feel it and you can smell it, and it smells like fresh dirt, and it's just like, it's really an intense scent. It connects with all of your senses, this experience. So it's 250 cubic yards of soil. It covers 3,600 square feet of floor space, and then there's a little area for a guy to sit there and let you in from the buzzer. It's 22 inches deep, so that's about 2 feet deep. And the dirt weighs 280,000 pounds. I mean, it is really a thing. It's nutty, right? But it's also, wow, it's like, who the hell think to do this? So that I talked about the smell of the soil, of like, you know, I think of it like freshly mowed lawn, when you get that like smell of the grass. It's similar with soil. It's like healthy. And by filling a coveted urban space like a Soho loft, it's really a commentary on what are the boundaries of what art can consist of. What are the expectations of what can you do with a New York City apartment? And that's very charged, because that loft, whereas it cost the Dia Art Center almost nothing, would now probably sell for over $7 million. And it has been there since 1977. There've been someone tilling the earth. Every week he comes in and he waters and he tills the earth and he weeds, and it's a thing. It's really a thing. And it's not open a ton of times, so don't just barrel in to New York thinking, I think it's like Wednesday to Friday for 2 hours in the afternoon, because who wants to pay somebody to babysit Earth? But it's kind of amazing. And it's also a critique on the material practices of the art world. And if you can imagine that, it's you fill these galleries full of this really expensive, valuable work. And yes, it is wonderful artwork, but really your focus is completely on the commodity of art and not so much any other part of it, and it had gotten to that. I still think it's definitely what art has become, and it's important for us to be able to take a step back and decide that there's lots of different ways to experience art. You don't have to buy it. You can obviously go to a museum or a gallery and just experience it. And but there is a whole, I've worked in galleries a lot of my career. There is a very intense sales aspect to it, and the earth artists really wanted to separate from that. I also think there was an aspect of the political situation that had been going on in our world. It made there's so much sort of political extra. And I know that these artists have talked a lot about getting back to basics and kind of trying to rewind so that we're not all so focused on the competition of the political parties and the money being made around everything, but also art. So this is the Earth Room, and I recommend you go. When I went last time, it's a couple of years now, you walk in and there was this one little weed growing. I don't know if it's a weed or a flower or whatever, but it was like completely black. And then there was this little green bud, and I just thought, this is so fabulous. Like, I just love it. There's a guy, I saw an article in the New York Times. He was interviewed. His name is Bill Dilworth, and he is the curator, meaning he's the one who tills and waters. And so he rakes too. And he sits behind a desk in the adjacent room with his feet up. And I mean, literally, I remember his feet are always on the desk. And it's not a ton you can really ask him. He sits there and he said people come in and they say, the Earth Room, my old friend, how have you been? Because it's been there for, almost 40 years. So it's sort of a little oasis in New York City. It's very playful, it's a playful concept.
How do you see it? You walk along the side or?
Oh yeah. I don't have another photo. Well, actually, Walter, here, do you see how there's like a plexiglass that holds it in? And you can just stand in that opening, which would be like the opening to another room, like it's all open, but there's a space for you to stand and the plexiglass, and then it's just all dirt. Yeah.
Well,
Smells wonderful. It smells like fresh soil, and it's perfectly taken care of, in terms of moisture and all of that. So that's De Maria. One last piece of his. I don't know if anyone's seen this. This is the Broken Kilometer. Yeah, really? It's around the corner, Vicky. It's okay, so what it is, this is more of De Maria being very involved with math and geometry. This is at 393 West Broadway, so the main thoroughfare in Soho, and it's right on the main fair, and you can see it as you open this heavy door to inside of a gallery space, and it's 500 rods. 5 parallel rows of 100 rods each. So this is cut off. You're missing one of the rows. 45 feet wide and 125 feet long. And it's the brass rods if put together in a line, they would make a kilometer. So he's talking a lot about time and space and distance, more geometry. And it's like we live in this sort of crowded, cramped world. And I'm going to show you what it actually, a kilometer would look like if you put it in a room. So it's very much conceptual, but it's also very beautiful. When you walk in, sorry.
Well, I'm wondering, these installations, all the pieces you've shown us, no struggling artist 2 years out of a BA degree is going to be able to do these kinds of things. How do the artists get the space, the money, and the help to create these and keep them in place all these years?
It's a good question. The Dia Art Foundation, which they have different locations, but they fund this all of these years. And they have a lot of funders like corporations and lots and lots and lots. It's really an institution in New York that's very heavily respected. And you know, like Bloomberg Philanthropies, like they are definitely
Does an artist make something like a grant request or something?
yes, absolutely. And what's interesting is you know, 1979 was a different world in New York. You know, that's when loft space in Soho was like a nickel, you know. And there was a lot more open space. Soho didn't become until really the 80s, when there was a lot of more money being made in investment banking and a lot of that Soho is really was kind of a wild, wild west a little bit. You know, I mean, in New York, it's funny now, even Brooklyn, like, you know, when I was growing up, we weren't allowed to go to Brooklyn. And now, you know, I raised my kids in a brownstone in Park Slope. And then now it's like, okay, well, Red Hook. Oh, no, it's all filled. It's expensive. Okay, let's try Bensonhurst. You know, it's like there's very little frontier left. And that's definitely why they went out west. But in New York and Soho at the time, things weren't expensive. So whatever they bought this for would have been extremely affordable, all paid for. And now Dia just pays to keep it shiny.
Go ahead. Hi. It's the question I have is, did they have to do any reinforcement since the buildings were built over 50 years ago?
Yeah.
And they were probably big old wooden houses, because I'm originally from the East Coast, and you're right, we didn't go down to certain places in New York. What reinforcement, if any, had to be done to the structure, like the floors, to be able to hold all the weight of the dirt in particular?
Well, this is
right either.
Well, Broken Kilometer is actually on the ground floor. So I don't think, you know, these are pre-war buildings and they are, you know, basically could probably have a rodeo in there and not blink. The earth room though is on the third floor, and I would imagine they would have had to I certainly wouldn't want to live under it. So just to say, this same guy, Bill Dilworth, who rakes the earth room, is also polishing brass rods on a 2-year cycle. So for 3 months, they close it down. They polish each one. It's so complicated, and it takes 4 people 2 to 3 weeks to polish them all. I mean, it's like a whole thing. And then they need to be realigned methodically with a very taut string to place them exactly where they were meant to be. So I never thought about that when I would go in there. You know, I would be in anthropology and I would like stop in and see Broken Kilometer and do, there's something about it that is very centering. And some, it's, you know, I'm no mathematician, that's for sure, but you do get a sense of order from the way he's structured these these rods. And conceptually, he's talking about how space is a commodity and how important it is, and how little we think as a civilization about letting there be a lot of space. You know, I mean, growing up in New York and now living in California, it's insane how much space you feel you have here. I mean, even in San Francisco, it just, I feel like, you know, you can see the sky. My mom used to say that in other places you can see the sky, but not so much in New York City. And that is something about that, is finding space for yourself or space for your family. And it's gotten really expensive. It was, you know, now it's barely affordable to really find a good space. And so De Maria is really talking about that, of what does space look like, and very much also about he both, you know, all of these earth artists dealt with time and space and distance, and the way they created their pieces were some permutation of these things. There's some calculation that caused them to have an idea and put it together as an earthwork. So that is what Smithson meant, with De Maria meant with the broken kilometer. It is kind of amazing that it's still there. There were 3 other earth rooms in the world, and they all closed because they didn't have a dia to fund them. So, yeah.
You know, as it goes towards the vanishing point, are they shorter towards the far end, or are they all the same length?
All same.
They are. So it's
How do you see them?
Railroad track.
How?
You stand, where do you stand to see them?
Oh, so it's gosh, I should have put more photos in. I apologize. You walk in, you pull open the big door, and then you walk in and it's just open. It's a terrible photo. I apologize. It literally just open, and all of the 5 rows of bars are in front of you. And it is like, whoa, I didn't expect that. The first time you come in, it's like you do not expect to see that, kind of like you don't expect to see a room of dirt 2 feet high. But with this, they have special lighting, and I thought it was actually quite interesting. The lighting is called metal Ostrom stadium lights that mimic sunlight. So when you walk in, they glow gold. It's really kind of arresting. Interesting though, over the last 40 years, the Ostrom company, I think the Ostrom company went out of business, or at least those light bulbs are no longer. So the mad scramble to try to buy as many before there were none left. Now there are none left, and they're constantly trying to get that same glow that they had. But a lot of these lights are not so popular because of trying to conserve electricity. So I think it's interesting that with the time, it's been around so long that times have changed around it. And that's another aspect of the earth artists, where they where it is meant to be, as I said, like the pyramids or like Stonehenge, where it's there forever and we change around it. And there's there's an element of time and duration that was very fascinating to them. Another part of it is, you know, here's Walter de Maria, who did this incredible, this complicated lightning work that's been out there for so many years, and people still interested to go and see it and make pilgrimages to be part of that experience. Now he brings it inside. So this is the inside outside that we're talking about with Smithson. It's like, you know, he can do this, he can have this gigantic piece of land out in New Mexico, but then in New York, where he actually lived, he just thought, okay, I'll get a couple of lofts. These, you know, they don't cost much right now. It's 1975 or whatever. And I will just bring the conceptual, what I'm thinking about in order to make people think about distance, about time, duration, light, all of these elements of our world that are fundamental to us being. These guys are trying to put front and center. And a lot of these things, you know, we talk about nature all the time, especially with artists who will be studying, but a lot of them are just will want to bring us back to nature, because it's almost like the world is developing too fast at this point in the 60s and 70s, a tremendous move forward in progress in terms of technology and transportation and all of the things that America as a superpower had now a lot of things. And so these guys were really trying to pull the brake and say, well, wait, let's just take a minute, you know, let's walk on the path to meditate and go back to the basics, because the basics are really what's most important. And so these earth artists is when we continue next week, we're going to do Christo and Jean-Claude. And, you know, these earth artists allowed them to break out of the bounds of space and time. And I mean, you know, the concept of doing huge work, using engineering and groups of people. This is not, you know, your grandmother's visit to the art museum. It's like it's exploded and we're along for a ride. And I've always been a big fan of Christo and Jean-Claude, and there is a lot of wonderful things to say, a lot of interesting stories to tell about them. But you can see they are the next, they're the next going forward. Talking about Christo and Jean-Claude really is also, in a way, I suppose you could say that it's land art. It's only really kind of 6 degrees from Smithson and De Maria and Heitzer. I'll bring him in. All of those other land artists, Christo and Jean-Claude sort of took it from there. And there's a lot to be said about that. Any questions?
How close to Broken Kilometer can a visitor get?
Oh, right there. I mean, it's right there. I don't even, the last time I went, nothing. I don't know if there is now. I haven't been since I moved here. And that's a long time. I mean, 9 years.
You could just walk around Stonehenge and walk around.
Right.
So that's gonna change.
Like you could see the Mona Lisa without people photographing in front of your face and the plexiglass. Yeah, there's a lot of wow art out there that's no longer, I mean, Mona Lisa is a wow, but it's completely shrouded by, you know, there is a whole aspect to the photographing and the Instagramming and all of that. And I have mixed feelings about it. You know, sometimes it's like, give me a break. But in other times, I think having art be so accessible to people, let's just say it, young people who wouldn't, they probably wouldn't go to the museum or to the show to stand in line to see 45 seconds of a Yayoi Kusama piece, but it is a little bit about the hype that gets them there, and whether or not they get the meaning that was the purpose of it, doesn't really matter. They're showing up, and their museum attendance has gone down so severely that, you know, when you have people waiting in line for 2.5 hours to get into a museum in order to see this thing, it's exciting. You know, it's a rebirth for museums, and they've definitely embraced it.
The tactile element, though, of all of these seems to be different from looking at them.
Definitely. It's a totally different experience, but there is,
Repeat the question, please.
oh, the question is, here's a question.
Tactile element.
Yeah, there's a tactile element that you would not have if you go to a museum and see something like the Mona Lisa. Like it's the experience of being, and even if you haven't been to a Christo Jean-Claude installation, you can still kind of feel the freedom and the excitement of it. And we'll talk about how he was able to support this. The installations was by drawings that he did. He didn't accept any commercial support at all. What was the first thing you asked?
It was actually about the tactile element that comes into this kind of work that you just see on the, that's why I was asking about how close you could get to it.
Right. Oh, she asked, how close can you get to Broken Kilometer? And I was saying that it's right there. As far as I remember, I mean, now I don't know if you can be right there, but I can't see why not, since I've only ever gone to see it and been alone, like literally alone. And also with the Earth Room, I'm always alone when I visit, I mean, it's not like I go every time I go to New York, but once in a while, it's just sort of a fun thing to go with a friend. But yeah, no, I mean, it isn't, it isn't like there are the earth art and these artists. It isn't like there's this big attention on them. I feel they're the inception of this, and I love that people are still going back to see the lightning field and the spiral jetty. It's got to be an amazing sort of. It's almost like a ritual, an art ritual.
One more question.
Yeah.
This is, probably shouldn't be allowed. Is there any notion of a kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge to this thing like the Earth Room? Any sense that it's making
fun
sport of either the gallery or the viewer?
Is the Earth Room, is it kind of making fun, and do people, the jokes on the viewer, right? You're saying that like, it isn't. I mean, that's one thing. These guys are serious. I mean, they have like real convictions about what development has done to us as a people, and that we have to remember that we all go back to nature, right? No, there's no wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Maybe there should be. But I'm sure there are plenty of people who, I mean, there are lots of people who think that a lot of this is just hype and it's not interesting to them, or it's a money grab or something like that. But I really, having been to sort of all of it, I don't feel that. I feel it is this progression in art that is meant to bring people in and have a real connection, and I feel that connecting is such an important thing, especially, by the way, since COVID. The idea to go and share an experience with other people who are also know what's going on there. It's you don't have to talk. It's not, you feel almost a bit of electricity when you're in a situation like this. Hi.
Do people compare this art with Andy Goldworthy?
Yes, he was a big part of this, definitely. And I actually was going to do, bring him, it's much tamer and I think Andy Goldworthy is so thoughtful, and his work is so beautiful, but it's delicate, it's not, and his work is really to be seen in galleries as well. The Hess collection up in Napa has a wonderful Andy Goldworthy, which is just these little twigs connected. They're not attached in any way, but they stay together because of the juxtaposition of them. It's phenomenal. Anybody else? Any questions from the crowd?
So after you're videoing this so that it can be viewed later, correct?
Yes. You'll be able to next week if you can't be at Christo. You said you wouldn't be there, but you could watch it.
So my question is, how soon after the class does the video get posted?
Scott, do you know how soon after the class the video gets posted?
I would say no longer than 24 hours.
Okay. Don't you love that we can
You're
just
welcome.
ask Scott? Right. Thank you very much, everyone.